Alright, so today we'll be doing part 2 to last week's community video. If you're new here, a community video is where I ask you guys to send me a whole lot of questions and I answer them right here in a video. We've still got some interesting ones to go over, and I'm glad that you guys still continue to send them in. Before we start though, I want to ask you guys a question real quick, and answer this honestly. Don't just pick your favorite hero, because I got into an argument with someone about this the other day, and I gotta know, who's winning in a fist fight? No armor, no weapons. Gladiator or Centurion? Let me know what you guys think, because both of these dudes have shown that they can throw some ridiculously powerful punches, finishing off fully armored opponents. But keep this in mind, Gladiator has taken a punch to the face by heroes like Lawbringer and Shigoki like it's nothing, so he clearly has a very, very strong chin, while Centurion has an uppercut so fierce that it launches Shigoki and Lawbringer off their feet. So I want to know who wins. Anyways, if you're new here or watch these videos regularly, I'd really appreciate it if you sub to the channel, as it really helps me out. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, so I wrote this down, and whoever asked it edited their comment to something else, so I don't have the screenshot, but it said, how do you feel about the punch through buff? Do you believe it was intentional or just another unintended bug? I have no idea if it's intentional or not. They didn't mention it in the patch notes, so honestly, who knows? What I do know though is that it has made playing Shigoki and Warlord much more enjoyable. I don't use it on BP because I like Oathbreaker a bit more for whenever I may need it, especially when I'm playing solo and I have a teammate that loves to feed revenge. Although I will admit it can be useful on Blackbriar. I still use Zealot's Bolt on Yorm, and I don't play Conk, but for Shigoki and Warlord, I like it. Is doing 41 damage for throwing 2 blocked heavies a bit much? Yes it is, but this has shown me that I will gladly run punch through over Tough as Nails and other tier 3 feats so that my blocked attacks are more threatening. If punch through was a tad weaker so that the damage was still sufficient but not overbearing, then yeah, I wouldn't see anything wrong with this feat and I'd still like it. Tom John says, since we have heroes who have hyper armor, one needing a nerf, what are your current thoughts on hyper armor? Should it stay as it is? Should it be nerfed? Or should it be removed entirely? Also, how would you rank these season 12 heroes? I don't find hyper armor as problematic as a few others do. It has a very clear purpose in the game, and if you've been playing for a bit, you know by now who has hyper armor, when they can get to it, how they can get to it, so on and so on. I think that just like with so many other things in this game, it should be looked at on a case-by-case basis, because as we've seen, there are some armored attacks in this game that no one has a problem with, and then there are armored attacks that are problematic, like Hitokiri's recently nerfed heavy openers. I don't really mind armor that starts early in chain, especially on slower attacks, so that you don't get poked out of it during its startup, and you can punish people who try to do so, and it also allows you to throw out attacks in group fights more easily without getting hit out of it by some long range attack. Early starting hyper armor on openers is where the problem starts for me. So to answer your question, I don't think it should be removed entirely. It should be looked at on a case-by-case basis, and I plan on ranking the year 3 heroes at the end of this season after we see if UB will do anything with Jean Hu. Jaden Shelmedy says, when are they going to understand that weapons are plentiful enough and that people really just want more armor? We have something like 49 weapon sets and 17 armor sets. I'm sure that at this point, UB definitely knows that a whole lot of us will prefer to get new armors at this point over weapons, but as we know, armor is something that takes a pretty long time to make, and we really don't know how many people work on armors anyways. Is the art team that works on new armors for existing characters the same people that work on armors for new heroes? If so, that's a lot of armor they've already worked on this year. Also, if they're going to release new armors, they've got to release armor for a whole lot of heroes at once, you know, at least if they're going to do it the way they did last time. At this point though, I don't know about you guys, but I'd actually be cool with UB dropping a new armor set, 1 or 2 heroes at a time, instead of weapons for everyone. I know that for a fact, releasing armors this way would upset some people, as there will be times when their hero didn't receive new armors that time around, but at least someone got new armor, you know? And if they released 1 or 2 or 3 sets of armor per season for the last few seasons, let's just say the entirety of year 3, we'd have between 4 and 12 heroes with new armors. Again, I have absolutely no idea how hard it is to create armor and equipment for a game like this. We know that it's time consuming, so it may not be able to be done, but I will say I wouldn't be opposed to a staggered release on armor sets, despite undoubtedly upsetting some people. Next up, Pure Testosterone wrote a long one that was the second highest rated comment on the post, so quite a few people liked what he said or agreed with it, so I'm going to read it in full and then respond to it and a few other statements I saw regarding it. He says, unpopular opinion here, I just want to say I really don't like how the dev team is making things more universal on the cast. It's a real slippery slope that I don't think anyone likes, where all the characters feel the exact same. I think it's natural and good for a fighting game to have a diverse range of characters and effectiveness, learning curves, and skill floors and ceilings. Though of course, if a character or move is completely busted, whether it be insanely good or bad, or just not working as intended, the developers should fix it. But when all the characters have the same 500 millisecond lights, parry, GB, wall splat punishes, and so on, is when a game gets really boring really fast. When every character gets an unblockable finisher, they all feel the same. There's a certain joy we get when playing or watching a lower or bottom tier character and pushing their kit to the absolute limit, using my intuition and making reads to beat a top tier character that is truly satisfying. That's what I really loved about characters like Warlord, for example. He didn't really have anything that was super special, but with some real hard work and creativity, I made the character work and had fun with him for 30ish reps. Also with super strong attacks as well, I don't think it would be a problem if there were 50 plus damage attacks in the game, as long as it was appropriately hard to land, and the other way around as well. An attack that's easy to land but really weak or punishable when whiffed or parried. That's just the nature of this game and how it should be handled. Also on that note, when you see that type of character you think, oh crap, it's the guy with the super mega ultra attack. That's what made this game fun for me, a diverse cast. I don't think simplifying the game and giving all the characters the same moves helps anyone. Keeping or making the cast diverse is what we need. Alright, so that is a long one, and I'll try to get to most of it because I do see where you're coming from in a way. I'll start with how you feel about how the cast is becoming less diverse. So as this game has progressed, heroes have been receiving some things that make them feel a bit samey in terms of attack speeds and whatnot. And when it comes to something like light attacks, there isn't really much you can do here. With how powerful defense is as a whole and how easy it is to defend yourself, light attacks have to be somewhat fast in order to not be a free parry. You keep multiple 600 or God forbid 700 millisecond light attacks in this game, and there won't be much of a reason to use them, as you're basically just throwing a 13 damage attack to eat a 30 damage light parry or more depending on who you're fighting. So 500 milliseconds has just sort of become the norm. There are a few variables ranging from 400 to 500 milliseconds, with a few attacks being between those intervals. Then there are enhanced lights, undodgeable lights, and the recently introduced unblockable lights. But for the most part, 500 milliseconds is the norm. Other than that, there aren't too many places that UB can go with movesets and whatnot. There's the standard attacks in the game and what heroes can do, you know, light, heavy, guard break, dodge, so on and so on. And from there, they've got to try and spice things up and add things to further heroes' kit and whatnot to make them work. Other than with new heroes and reworks or huge game-wide changes, there's not really going to be anything new. And even with the newer heroes, we don't really see anything brand new brought to the table. So I don't know, I think the game will always feel a bit samey in a way with smaller movesets, but to be fair, at least we have seen some innovation with the game since its release. As for the super ultra mega attack, anything like that is something you've got to be careful with, especially if you look at how the game is played now. Even if an attack is really slow and really punishable, in duels it may not be much of an issue, but in team modes where most people play, there's probably going to be a way to set it up and guarantee it. So you've got to be careful with things like that. I know this is a bit extreme and it's a feat, but when you look at Hitokiri's tier 4, it's like the definition of a super ultra mega attack. And if she's got it and her teammates know what they're doing, the tier 4 is going to land. I don't really mind a really high damage attack that needs to meet some sort of condition though, like Yorm's Hammer Slam and Shaman's Bite. Those are both high damage attacks that can't be accessed unless their opponent is in some sort of state, whether it be out of stamina or bleeding. And on your point of the satisfaction of using a lower tier hero to beat your opponent, again, I see where you're coming from, and this is something I see all the time, not just in For Honor, but in a ton of other games as well, whether it be a shooter where someone likes using weaker weapons, or fighting games where people like to use weak characters. And that's something that will never change, but I personally like for heroes to get stronger over time, as I really do like strong heroes, and I like to have as many heroes as possible be good, especially in a game like this where things move sort of slow. And I mean, some things just work. Unblockables work, faster lights work, bashes work, hyper armor is useful. I don't think you should keep a hero in a mediocre state for the sake of variety, you know? We want to be able to attack and actually fight each other. If everyone's offense is weak and can be beaten by just blocking or dodging slow bashes while avoiding the one thing that makes them unique, then we end up right back where we started, where there is actually no thought in combat. We won't have to wonder, is my opponent going to do A, B, or C? It goes back to, I'm going to react to everything my opponent does and punish him with these really high punishes, and we end up turtling again. And that's something we've been actively trying to move away from. However, no one can really be mad at you for wanting to play the game how you want to, since you bought it. And I mean, if you like using weaker heroes for the satisfaction, I mean, no one can blame you. Next up, Robbie Guida says, so I noticed the newest Call of Duty Modern Warfare recently added a new tournament game mode, and I immediately thought of For Honor's old ranked tournament mode. Do you think that the devs might add it again, or is it something that's completely been removed? Personally, I enjoyed that kind of gameplay, and with a few changes it might be fun. Let me know what your opinion on that game mode is. Cheers from Italy. If I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what UB is doing with ranked at the moment. I'm not sure if they plan on doing anything else with it, but ranked tournaments would be another change of pace from what we've got now. It was cool, but I personally prefer the way it is now, just because you're not as committed to anything, and I've always liked being able to get into a game and get out in any game. I don't really play ranked nowadays. I haven't played it since the first time they introduced it. I have been wanting to see Ranked Dominion make a return though. That's something I've been thinking about for a while now, although I know that there would definitely be some issues that need to be worked out in the meantime. I'm not really sure how I'd like it exactly, but I'm thinking something a little similar to the way Rainbow Six Siege does it would be something I'd like, where there's a point system and ranks. The rankings could stay the exact same: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and masters. Although I would definitely worry about queue times when we got higher up in the ranks, as you'd only want a game to start with 4 people per team and no bots, and of course the higher you go, the longer the queue times would be. Also, having a ranked 4s mode would split up the player base even more, and queue times are already long enough as is in regular old matchmaking, so I'm not really sure what will be going down in the long run. Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. Really wanted to get this video out today. There are a few more things I'd like to release by the end of the week as well, so be on the lookout for that. But as usual, I do want to know what you guys think, so be sure to talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. And as always, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.